This never happened when Jackie was in charge.
Oh,
Wow.
we love Jackie. We're
Ouch.
already 2 questions in. Come on, like that's a record for us at this point. All right, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to the first installment of MVP Office Hours in the U.S. for 2020. I am Dale Ziegler. Along with me are our 3 other...
Hello.
Okay. 3 other hosts. We got Jared Kingston, we have Joy Shutters-Helbing, and Squire Kirshner. Say hello, everybody.
Hello. This is
Hello,
Jared.
everybody.
Hello.
Yeah, it's the 4 of us running this. We're all on here. You can follow any of us on our Twitter handles there or the MVP Office Hours handle. And then mvpofficehours.info is your one-stop shop to get all information on all things MVP Office Hours, not just for our group, but the others that are operating in a few other regions of the world. We'll touch on that in a minute. Over here on the right is information about upcoming events and other Salesforce sponsored or community sponsored events that you can join either virtually or in person. One key thing to highlight here, and I didn't discover this until I was putting the deck together earlier this week, but there used to be a couple of bit.lys and a couple of community sourced sites that listed out all the community events. Trailhead has now taken that over. This is now the one site to get information about community events. The soonest coming up are Singapore Dreamin', Cactus Force in Phoenix. Then there's Japan, there's Albania, there's Banff, Canada, there's Austria, Snowforce. Definitely the international presence is growing. I think as a side project, I may get out a world map and just start push pinning all the countries that have global events because it's awesome to see. Also, your local community groups, join user groups or dev groups, whatever it may be, go ahead and follow these links to get more information on groups that are meeting in person close to home for you. So what is MVP Office Hours? Well, we meet normally on the first and third Friday of the month, but after the holidays and getting into the new year, we're shifting for January. So today is the second Friday, and then we'll meet again in 2 weeks on the fourth Friday, and then that'll get us back on a 2-week cadence for February. But normally we are first and third Friday. It's open Q&A. Everyone can ask a question. Everyone can answer the question. You don't have to be an MVP to answer it. And we have MVPs who ask. It's fully collaborative. We just ask that if you're not speaking, please mute yourself. You can ask questions in the chat by leaving a question there, or you can raise your hand and we'll call on you to then ask over the phone. Just announce who you are. We also have the chat capability to share links and resources to things, and we have the ability for you to share your screen. We just ask that if you're sharing your screen, please either show a sandbox or a dev environment. Just last possible option is production, because we are recording this. We will share this to YouTube. We just don't want to have to deal with any liability of production data, anything like that, because it will be recorded. Who are our MVPs in the room? I know Squire, we got Joy, we got Jared, we got myself, we have Stu. Who else? All right, we got a good crew today.
We're all MVPs at heart.
Exactly. Everybody's an MVP. Thank you, Squire. So this happens more than just here in the US. There is a call in EMEA that happens the last Thursday of the month. And then I thought I saw Carlos, maybe not. Carlos Cicada operates on the last Thursday of the month as well, MVP Office Hours Portuguese, which you do not have to know Portuguese to join. He lives in Florida. He speaks Portuguese and Spanish, but he handles all of the translations. So all you have to do, it's just like this. It's open questions. He will do the translating, and everybody definitely benefits from it. So reach out to Carlos or follow the MVP OH Portuguese handle to get more information on those if you want to join for an opportunity to give back. And then, as always, as I mentioned earlier, mvpofficehours.info is our site to get all your information about all the calls. So with that, let's jump back into the Q&A.
Do you want to circle back to the things we were talking about offline?
About account teams?
Well, and MVP.
We actually, so we will do that later because we have two hands raised. Sarah, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
My question is, excuse me, I am just getting started in looking at the Apex in my org, and our code coverage is very low. And one of the things I found is there's some classes that I don't think, Apex classes, I don't think we need in production, and I'm trying to learn how to get rid of them. And I know that you used to be able to use IDE, but I know that's gone now. So I was wondering if somebody could point me. I couldn't find much on how to use VS Code to do it, and I don't know where to start, really. So looking for some help.
So to paraphrase, you want to be able to delete classes that have been made their way to prod? Is that kind of the summary?
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly. And we don't have enough code coverage to do a deployment from a sandbox, I think. But I don't totally know how it works when you're trying to do a destructive change.
So if I can offer, so in the old days, I'm not saying this is a good idea, but if you do have if you're trying to put a Band-Aid on this, sometimes what you can do is deploy a class overwrite that literally just opens and closes the class. And then similarly, the test class, and sometimes that's enough to at least get you on the right track to do more destructive change. That's not the best way to do it, in my opinion, but if there's a challenge, sometimes that's a good start.
So just add the class to the change set, not making any changes.
No, literally wipe all the content of the class if it's really going to be deleted, but you can't do it with the tools. Make it an empty class that's just, open close brackets. Sometimes that's enough to at least so you don't have to worry about code coverage, and and even you can even add a comment to say like, blew up the context of this class on such and such date as a comment line, but then the coverage doesn't have to be there, and then you can slowly sneak up on it as more tech debt. But there's better ways to do it. I was hoping someone had a better way than that.
Are you able to comment out an entire class without doing a mass delete, so that at least that starts to loosen things without losing all of it? Or do you have to put a delete on all of it?
Is that to me or to Sarah?
To anybody.
Yeah, I don't know. This is,
I mean, conceptually speaking,
here, so.
I guess two squire is that in the realm of possible to open with a comment and close it with a comment, so that the whole thing is commented out, so that if you needed to get it back.
Right. Yeah.
Or save it to a text file and
that's
or
right.
something.
That's what I was going to say. Okay, thank you. Because I was going to say, can you, instead of just deleting it, comment it out first.
Yeah. So then in terms of doing that sounds great. And then deploying it, if we only have 35% code coverage in production, can I deploy using a change set? How does that work? I'm a little confused about those parts, I guess. Because it was sort of my understanding that if our code coverage in production is so low, we can't deploy anything that requires testing, but maybe it's just what is in the change set needs to be covered.
No, I think it's an overarching, like, your code coverage will kill you. because that happened to me years ago.
You do have more features now to what you want to test against when you push through.
Hmm.
You're going to bump into that number eventually.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to get it up, and I'm sort of stymied as how to do that if I can't deploy. You know?
Right. And I mean, it's not a great workaround, but rebuilding in production is it's a workaround. Like, when all is said and done, do you think you will have eliminated all of your Apex, or it's just going to be some?
It's just some. And most of this is all coming from packages, most of which have enough test coverage, but there's a few that, for whatever reason, didn't come with a test class that I don't think we need anymore, that I want to just get rid of.
Well, sorry, so I want to make sure I understood. So
Yeah.
the packages aren't managed, right? Usually a managed package doesn't require any coverage anyway.
Right. Yeah. So, okay. More specifically, this particular class has to do with, it's not part of a package really. It's actually a, related to our community, and the auto-created configurable self-registration page, which if you want to use a configurable self-registration page, it creates an Apex class to deal with the information that people submit through that page, but we're not using that page. We're using just the standard one. And so I don't think we need this. And in the meantime, it's 82 lines that are uncovered by any testing. And I don't really know what to do about all of that.
Do we still have access to Workbench?
Yes. As of yesterday, yes.
All right.
As of today, yes.
So I posted
There you go.
an article that Salesforce Ben has. Just reviewing this, I don't. I say I don't endorse this because I'm just reading it here over the last 5 minutes. It and the comments below talk about this kind of a situation that you're talking about and a possible solution around it.
Okay, I'll look at that.
I would review this in kind of a test scenario first.
Yeah.
This is very similar. There's a Salesforce Stack Exchange article that looks almost identical to this, so I bet you someone has extended it or been extended it the other way, so it looks similar.
Okay. Cool. Nobody else has encountered this themselves, I suppose.
No, everybody has.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, to some extent, there's all sorts of technical debt out there that how do you best get rid of it?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think
Okay.
it's not necessarily uncommon.
Okay. Cool. I'll take a look at that and see what I can do.
And please share with us what you find, because everybody could benefit from it.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'll let you know how it goes.
And so that's the other piece for anybody who's new to the group. We do have the MVP Office Hours Success Community, which is where we're going to share the deck and the links and bring in all of that. But as you find the things that you needed to do to accomplish it, this is the perfect place to post that.
And just so you know, the reason why I picked out that article is because as I looked through the comments on it, I see people like Bonnie Hinner's comment on it, and other people comment on it and say that they've also tried this sort of thing too. So it makes me feel a little more comfortable to then recommend this article to read.
Yeah.
Agreed. Bonnie's a rock star.
Yeah.
Well, and also that it's been validated as recently as a month ago. Good people endorsing it, but also recent endorsements. Because like Stu, if people don't know, Stu asked, is Workbench still a thing? Because it's going to go away any day now. All right. I am going Oh, hey, Squire, I'll throw your link up here too. I'm going to butcher your name, but Anurag?
Yep, you said it right.
Oh, hey. How's it going?
Hello, everybody. Good, good.
What you
All
got?
right. My question is, I'm using a case object on a standard and a custom case function on a standard and a custom object to look up values from another custom object, and I want to avoid using that. Instead, I want to create some sort of a VLOOKUP formula where I can look up values from a global custom object, where I can make changes whenever I would like, and I should reflect on all of the standard objects. Does that make sense? If required, I can demo this through my sandbox as well.
Yeah, go ahead. I just turned off sharing, so you should be able to.
Okay, let me demo it. Can everybody see?
It's getting there. Yes.
Okay, so I have this client entities object, which is pretty much a person account, and I have a record here. I have these advisor ID fields, which is getting integrated from an external system, and I'm right now I'm looking up these through a case formula. All these names, which I eventually want to use on like 900 reports. So the only way I could think about doing this was using a case formula, and the case formula I have is here. So that's the advisor ID that I'm getting from the external system, and this is the advisor formula field that I created using a case formula. Now the problem is I have to do every day something new gets added up, so I have to add this, and the same thing is pretty much on 4 other custom objects, and in future I may have a few more other objects. So this formula will be repeated on all the objects. So is there a way to do this by creating like a global custom object and then looking up through a formula field like a VLOOKUP? I know VLOOKUP only works on validation rules, so I couldn't think of anything else.
So there's multiple advisors in the end. Is that what you were ultimately concatenating together?
Yeah, so pretty much I want to get these names from these advisor ID through a formula. I'm using a case formula right now, but I want to create a custom object where I can pre-populate all the advisor IDs and the advisor names, and it should just look up the names from that table and populate it.
Is this the use case for custom metadata?
Yep.
Well, is it custom metadata or is it a junction object if there's multiple advisors? Is custom metadata going to allow you to concatenate multiple values together?
I don't think I follow that. Maybe I'm new, so maybe.
No, you're fine. I'm sorry. So Stu or whoever else said yep.
Well, I missed that. So there could be multiple contacts in that advisor field.
Yeah, because those appear to be just,
Yeah.
the AL appears to correspond to Alan Lipman, CMB corresponds to Kurt Beeren. And the problem appears to be if you're having to update this formula field daily, if that's what I heard, you're
Right.
You're kind of living in the same problem if you move it over to custom metadata because you're still in the setup on the back end. And I'm asking custom metadata experts this now, can you concatenate multiple custom metadata values together to ultimately get what he's looking for, which is a list of all the advisors on this record?
So basically break that out into a list of people.
Right, because the only thing I'm thinking is a junction object that concatenates the person account with a contact or a user or
Right. Yeah, that's what I would think too, especially when you're thinking of multiples and a list.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can kind of, I mean, you're going to be in a pickle anyway, because if the advisor ID list is changing all the time, that suggests that the advisors themselves are changing all the time. So there's a little bit of a hidden, like something has to be updated constantly, whether it's metadata or a junction object or anything. But I mean, so I think I'm going to go 2 steps. So first is assuming that the advisor ID list is somewhat static and that it's only new ones are coming in because they're a new piece of data. Custom metadata would work fine because you'd be able to say set up the AL, set up the AL CMB, set up the AL 123. But I would go 1 step further and say if you just know that all of the advisors are static but the combinations are unique, you might be able to do a part like a contains or a parse out of the advisor ID, and for each piece look up the metadata. I need to know a lot more about what advisor ID is going to look like over time, I think.
Can you do me a favor?
I can talk a little. Yeah, look, I can talk a little bit about the advisor IDs. These, let's go back to the case formula again.
Yeah, I was going to have you click on it and see if you could run the compiler, because that's what always scares me is if you're baking fluid data into a formula field, especially with people, you're going to potentially hit your limit quick.
Yeah, so this is what I'm using right now, and over time I can just have new codes coming in with the different names, and this is manual. This is I'm creating these from an external system. So like tomorrow there could be another ID called AL1, and it's getting assigned to maybe somebody named Tom or Chuck.
Right. Your metadata, your formula fields should never be fluid. They should be static. So that right there is a problem with your solution. Can you do me a favor? Scroll up and click Edit on the formula field. And then scroll down, down, and hit Check Syntax. $15.60. I mean, you're in a tolerable range, but you're not too far from running out of space to keep doing it this way. What's the compiler limit? Is it 4,000 or 5,000? Anyway, you're about halfway. You're pretty close to halfway there, so you're not going to be able to expand this out much more.
Yeah, I would think you definitely want, if you don't have it already, an advisor object, right, that holds these names and the abbreviations in fields.
Are these advisors users or no?
Yeah, they are. We can use them from contact objects too. The contact object does have the name and the code. That we can definitely reuse contact objects.
What are they? So what are the advisors using these for, though? Are they then doing reporting, or what do they need to get out of this solution?
So pretty much, yeah. They need. I need to be able to report using these codes, because I want to reuse these fields on reports, which can be shared by a couple of people, which I'm doing that through a sharing rule. So I don't want to assign a user license to it, because they're facing a problem where we have an external system and we get multiple codes, so a report has to be shared with multiple people. Or data has to be shared with multiple people based on these codes. So like AL, CMB, this one needs to be assigned to 2 people. So I have to create like a sharing rule here. So yeah, that's the use case. So that's why we're trying to work around by creating a new field where we can look up these IDs from the external system and pretty much populate the names and then just use it on reports.
So
Does that
then
make
if
sense?
if that's the case, I think your external system needs to populate either the contact object or a custom object, and then implement a junction object, which would look up to both your person account and your contact or custom object, whichever you go with, which would then allow you to have multiple advisors per person account. Even if it's only one is many. But if the external system has the codes for these advisors, let that feed the data on either the contact object or a custom object, whichever you go with, to then reference in a junction relationship with your person account. That way, you're not hitting any limits on a formula field, and a lot of the work's already being done for you to know who the advisors are. Does that make sense?
So pretty much, just to recap it, I need to create a lookup field and then have it populate from the external system through the code.
Not right on the person account. No, you're gonna. Are your advisors contacts then also? Did you say that?
Yeah, the advisors are contacts as well.
So if the external system is able to either create or update contact data, let that pump your advisor's information into that object. Then create a new custom object, which has lookups to both person account and contact to say this, in the end, that'll say this person account has these advisors.
Okay. Yeah, got it. Okay.
Okay. And again, you can always circle back as you go down that build path. You can always circle back on the group and reach out, and we're more than happy to jump in and help.
Sure. Okay. Sounds great. Thank you.
All right. So we had a question before the call started asking, what is an MVP? And Squire actually found an article. If any of the MVPs want to jump in and just give a quick minute on what they feel it means and help dispel some of that.
Dale, you're not sharing anymore either. You want to?
I'm sharing in my mind.
Okay, well, that's fair enough. That word
Oh,
picture.
that's nice.
There you go. Anybody?
Wow, that's a lot of dead air. Hi, my name is Stuart.
Hi, Stuart.
I've been an MVP since 2017, and I have no idea why I was selected. I was in family holiday in Germany, visiting some family friends, and I was getting text messages from people in America saying, please check your email, please check your email. And I checked my email and got an email from Holly, who was the leader at the time, saying, congratulations, you've been selected as an MVP. But there was no reason for it. I am a community leader, and I give back, and I try and mentor others. And so as an MVP, I just continue to do those things and hope that I can help other people when they have problems in Salesforce to overcome those problems.
And we love you for it.
And that's my answer of what an MVP is. My answer is I have no clue.
Stu, this is Joy. We have had a similar experience, except I started in 2019, so there's that.
I'm gonna.
And it feels like that's the story that most MVPs have, is that you don't know why you're MVP, which is why you are an MVP. There's just something. I forget who it was. Someone made a comment that most MVPs were always an MVP. The nomination just kind of puts a stamp on it. So I think that's probably what you're saying too. So.
I have Jared to thank because he was here locally, and he gave me a ton of time and energy and let me pick his brain, and became a mentor to me, and that's what helped make all of it click for me. And lo and behold, in 2015 I became an MVP. So Jared and many others I have to thank, because it's all about paying it forward. I think that's the big piece for us, is we all individually have had people who helped us, and it's easy to then pay it forward and help others.
Yep. Agreed.
Looks like Bruno has his hand raised. Bruno, go for it.
Thanks, MVPs. Thanks for everybody on the call. Jared, Dale, Squire, Stewart. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
We can.
Awesome. Okay. Just looking for some insight. This probably shouldn't take too long, but the need is to use Salesforce as a project management tool, not to go and grab something like a, TaskRay or anything addition, just to sort of use it to sort of manage little projects that happen. So one of my thoughts, and before I start building this out, I thought, let me just reach out and see what you guys think. But is to, let's say I have a custom object with sort of a project that needs to happen. And then a whole bunch of tasks that are usually assigned to these types of projects, because there could be many. And then assign sort of a user, because everybody's going to have a license, to be able to indicate who's responsible for each task, and then have a status on this custom object that you'd have sort of saying it's in development. But when you sort of say kick off the project, I'd build a process flow, perhaps use some flow in the background to sort of take all those items, the users, and create tasks that actually go out to the users, and then they can at least know who's responsible for what and track. Does that make sense to you? And do you think there's a better way to kind of handle that kind of stuff?
Absolutely, because I built one for my own when I was an admin years ago, and then I stumbled over Agile Accelerator. But yeah,
Agreed.
Absolutely. It's if you're running it like project by project, and then that you're going to have a set cadence for this type of project or whatever, these tasks need to go out to specific users. Yeah. That is a very great use case to build into Salesforce. Or again, if you need a little bit more complexity, because maybe you need actual project tracking, whatever, Agile Accelerator is a free App Exchange package. Has a handful of limitations, but overall it works super well and it's free.
Well, it's always easier to sell free, right? To say, let's try and use something like that. Okay, so you're saying that would be even something I should look at to sort of before I build it, and it might.
Joy, were you going to say something? Did I cut you off?
No, I'm in total agreement with that. I had a very similar experience where built my own homegrown project management tool, and then as it needed to grow, I found myself looking for something that could do it better than. Like, there was no reason to reinvent the wheel, and then Agile Accelerator was there, and I was like, oh man, how I wish I'd had that before I started.
Oh, amazing. Okay, well, this is why I asked. Thank you so much for your insight. I really appreciate it, everyone.
Yeah, Agile Accelerator comes with trying to get a link so that I can then share it out. But
it's there. It's there in the chat. I just clicked on it.
Boom, Squire. Boom,
Squire.
I can Google with the best of them.
No, what I didn't use Agile Accelerator until I moved into consulting, but it comes with Kanban, like, the drag across statuses. Like, it's more than just here's a couple of objects and data to manipulate or whatever, but you get the actual visuals with it. But because it's also within Salesforce, if you wanted to build any automation on it, it's just objects. So have at it.
Fantastic. Excellent.
PhD in Googleology, Stu. You're funny.
And so the idea of giving tasks as well to users and such, if it's a custom object in the way I sort of indicate, can they not use platform licenses for that? I think they can, right? Because it's custom object, not opportunities or leads or anything.
Should trust but verify.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, everyone.
And so with that then, because it's a package of objects, those objects are no different than any other. So you could, in your sandbox or in a dev org, before you even begin to install this, just POC it, create a platform license and see what you get.
Perfect. Okay. Excellent. Good advice.
Who is up next?
Tell me that in the meantime, somebody found an answer to my account team's problem. There's got to be some app or something on the Automation Champion site or some process or flow that's going to help me though.
Well, okay. So if you absolutely really wanted to rip the warranty sticker off of it, Process Builder and Flow, if it's auto launched, is going to run at the system level. So if you were to build some kind of interface that then triggered a Process Builder into a flow to then create those to self-assign an account team member, you probably technically could do that. Because you're playing with security, I definitely would not advise it, but you could.
Yeah, you could do something like have an action that creates a record that says, I'd like access to this account, and then have like a scheduled flow do the work or something like that. And then you'd have tracking about someone wanted it, but then it's not on someone to do it.
Well, it wouldn't even have to be scheduled. It could run in real time because they've had the ability to create account team data within automation for forever. It's now the actual invocability that if an account team record is created, then you can trigger automation. That's brand new. But account team is just an object of data that if you have your parameters, if you know you have to set all the fields, that is one requirement. So you would have to, in your interface or whatever that looks like, you would have to ask, what is the case access going to be? What is the opportunity access going to be? Because the account team object is nothing but required fields.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because you have to set. Is it read write? Is it private? Okay.
Right. And not to take my glasses and push them all the way up against my nose like a nerd, but it's technically the account team member object.
Yes, I know that. Okay.
Okay. I do. That's my wife all the time, and she does
all right.
This is Jennifer. I have a question if you're ready for one.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, simple one about the spring 2020 release. I was playing around trying to get the app switcher to work, and it doesn't. Has anyone figured out how to get the app switcher to work?
Is it? I think it's in pilot, isn't it?
Oh. Okay, I didn't notice that piece, but that would explain it.
I could be wrong. I just was reading it yesterday and I don't remember what I saw. But if it is in pilot, you have to request for that to be activated. It's not just on.
Okay. I don't want it that bad. I'm doing a go live on the 27th with 10 new users, so I'm done.
Gotcha.
Well, save it for later.
Right. One thing that I've learned, I'm sure others have experienced it as well, but pilots and betas and everything are awesome to play with. But as soon as you, it's like the Salesforce gods hear you. As soon as you rely on it, it doesn't actually materialize. That's my only piece of advice.
Yep.
Agreed.
All right. Well, that was an easy answer to my question. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, let's verify though. I don't want to leave you hanging.
Oh, that's okay.
I'm expecting Stu or Squire to beat me to this, but. What's it technically called?
Hello, this is Carlos.
Hey, Carlos.
It's called the App Switcher instead of the App Launcher. The App Switcher makes it go quicker.
Okay, so it is called App Switcher.
Yeah, I think it is.
Hey, did you know mobile devices use these things called apps as well? That's super awesome for search.
Oh.
I thought was something else because I was talking to the product manager today about a feature that's in pilot called the split view support pilot.
Yep.
And that is great. I showed to my company today, they went nuts, but he said it's not going to happen. Too many roadblocks, maybe summer 20, maybe winter 21, but that's a great feature. So you guys go to YouTube and see that split view. That's fantastic.
Salesforce split view.
Yeah, I can send you, I have the link. I can probably send it to you. It's pretty much, when you go and create an app, you create a classic or you go and create a standard app or you create as a console. With this one enabled, when you create the app, you can say this is going to be only standard, this is going to be only a console, or on the fly, you can let the user say, hey, I'm doing something here. I wanted to see this as a console. And you see all your tabs in there. It's like really good.
Yeah, if you want to send the link.
Yeah, I will send. Give me a sec. Keep going. I'll put myself in mute. I'm gonna get my emails and I put on the chat.
Sounds good.
It's interesting. Everything I'm finding on App Switcher has to do with the Lightning Classic switch, and so I'm not finding anything.
Okay, if I find something, I'll throw it in the chat.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Next.
It's actually in the release overview deck. It says App Launcher Enhancements. Find and open apps quicker with enhancements to Lightning Experience App Launcher. So maybe it's called Lightning Experience App Launcher.
Okay, so release overview
Get a boost
deck.
with App Launcher enhancements. Yes. Here's the, if I can get back to you guys, sorry.
Squire, again.
Oh,
Start running
damn it, Squire. Fast.
Squire.
Yeah.
Oh.
You know what though? I'm not
Winner,
saying
winner.
a pilot. So maybe it's just a matter of you have to be on Spring, but you're testing Spring in your sandbox. You said, right?
That's correct. Yep. And I hovered over the app launcher and that did not pop up. I went to try and see if there was a place you had to turn it on or activate it, and I didn't see that either. So no big deal.
I'm excited about it because on top of having the cool app launcher feature, you've also now got the ability to sort those apps better. Like that drag and drop was always painful, and
Yes.
searching for your tab is so much easier with the new app launcher.
Agreed. Is there a way to make something that lives at the bottom under all items to make that into a box that's really an app and be able to drag it around?
App launcher. That's your answer.
Are you talking about like down at the bottom of?
Yes. I have some things that live down on the bottom as just words in my app launcher. And I'd rather have them as cards up towards the top.
You could build its own app just to put those tabs in it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Hi, this is Joy. So in a previous life, I had created an admin app that literally was the objects that I went to on a regular basis that no one else really cared about. And it was super handy for me so I could get to what I needed to. And I think that's what you're asking, like taking the individually listed objects that are listed at the bottom and then like compiling those into a card, into an app, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's an interesting idea. I like that.
I did something similar as well. So an admin app, but then I also had an object that was just admin shortcuts. And so it was, I mean, it was URL hacks and workarounds, but back before they, back in the day, you used to only get like 25 object tabs or something. So at least in Classic, it's not as friendly in Lightning, but at least in Classic, if you knew the first 3 characters of the object, you could just embed that into a URL and voila, you have a tab. So objects that I would use to either manage the org or back-end stuff that nobody needed to see, I would just have data records on an admin shortcut object that I could just click and go to wherever I needed to without having to navigate or search or anything like that. So definitely, like, this is not just your user's tool. This is yours as well. Figure out how to make your life easier to, you know, through means like that.
Neat.
You know what my pet peeve is?
Hack.
Trailhead modules don't have born on dates.
Oh.
So I don't know when this trailhead was written, but in the middle of the module, it does talk about App Launcher on mobile, and how users can access the Salesforce App Launcher and toggle between apps on their mobile device, and can also get to their profile where they can toggle between their own accounts. But nowhere do I know when this was written. What day was this written? What release was this written for? It doesn't say.
Is it on S controls? Because I can guarantee you that's not new.
Oh, Winter 20. Winter 20 it says. So it's Winter 20, I guess. Pet peeve.
No, I mean that's good.
I think that's really good feedback for the Trailhead team.
Absolutely. I'll add a little bit onto that. It'd be great if we could be notified when trails get expanded. So like if you've ever done the admin beginner, so here, I've brought this to 100%.
So you're not at 100%?
You haven't passed that yet? Come on.
I've passed it like 7 times. I've passed it 7 times.
Well, it's like getting your driver's license renewed. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
You just gotta go take the vision test again, Dale. Come on.
So, oh God, as I put my glasses back on. Where would you see, Stu, that it's Winter 20, or was it a very specific?
Is it mentioned? It's mentioned in there, isn't it?
I have a link in the chat to a specific page, and hidden in the text, it talks about changes in Winter 20. If you scroll
it's like the
down,
third paragraph, yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call that hidden, but
oh well, if you read like I do, it's hidden.
Yeah, for those of us who don't like to read.
So what I'm hearing is that, like, over where it says time estimate and topics and challenge and questions, feedback, or help, it would be nice if they had kind of a created date or a last modified date. That's what I'm hearing. And so I'm just going to reiterate that's really, it would be really great feedback for the Trailhead team to open that up. I will also tell you that if you're, what is it? I feel like if you have the trail tracker, you get a little bit more information about things if people are keeping those up to date. But I still think that's like a created date as a record in your org, not as when it's created by Salesforce. But there's also the release notes that they push out on Medium, or like when they have a new release. I think Chris Duarte does kind of a release document sort of thing that might list those out, but not specifically or in a reportable format of any way. Whoa.
Oh my, whoa.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, hello.
I go there by accident sometimes, never on purpose.
F12 instead of backspace or whatever, yeah. I didn't know if they'd have a create date or anything in here, but
Possible. It's possible it's buried in there somewhere, but hard to know. Or what version, or.
But yeah, I mean, that would be huge for I mean, especially new entrants into Salesforce. You think about how the Salesforce marketplace is just exploding with people who they're learning before they get the experience. But if you've never had the experience to know that potentially there's an out-of-date badge, maybe you don't spend your time on that. To have an explicit identifier there that'd be huge. And I would imagine it wouldn't be too difficult to put out there, like, this has been upgraded or I don't know, certified for this release.
Yeah.
Now the spring 17 maintenance exams, maybe don't worry about those.
They're supposed to be retiring those.
The older release
maintenance badges, yeah.
Yeah.
However, I find those very helpful if you're studying for exams, because there's questions on there that can help you understand, what's going on in that realm if you're not familiar or already certified.
Right. Absolutely.
At least help you understand like the way the questions are presented.
Right. We got 6 minutes left. Who else has something for us?
Well, if no one has anything else, I have a giant accountability comment. And I'm taking my CPQ test in the next month, and then I plan on taking Community Cloud before June 1st. And so if y'all can just keep me accountable, that would be fantastic.
Awesome. I'm going for my Community Cloud for the second time. So Joy and anybody else who wants to study up, let's get a group or something.
You go, guys.
Thank you.
Has anybody on the call taken the Lightning Web Component class, DEX 602?
Are you taking that soon?
Yeah, tomorrow. Start Monday. I'll be on next week.
Tomorrow, yes, excellent. Is it virtual or are you going to be in person?
Virtual. I can't afford to travel after all the holidays, so but it should be good. I think it's run out of the East Coast, so it'll be timing won't be so bad. So I'm looking forward to it. It's kind of flying blind. I don't know what to expect out of this sequence. So
nice.
You're gonna do great. I can't wait to find out how it goes.
Well, I'll either be like brain mush because it'll be all new, or I'll be showing you all the cool components I'm going to write. One of the two. Does
that lead to a specific certification, or is it more of a broader, it's going to touch many?
In this case, it's me trying to make sure I'm on the front edge of like the development strategies. It's not actually helping me with the certificate specifically, although I'd assume it'll overlap with the Dev 2 at some point. But yeah, it's not a cert. In fact, the funny thing is, as soon as I take that, then the Monday I get back, I start my integration cert, like prep work, because I'm taking that at the end of March.
Nice.
Or identity, not integration, identity, which is the last one. So.
Either one, those are huge.
Yeah, the integration one was great. I'm a little nervous about identity, so.
All right, well, if nobody has any other questions, we'll cut this off a few minutes early. As I mentioned, any of the links that we shared here, we're going to dump in the deck. We'll share off a PDF and put it in the MVP Office Hours folder, as well as sharing the link to the YouTube recording. It'll either be this afternoon or sometime this weekend. But look for that in the next couple of days. And our next call will be in 2 weeks on Friday the 24th. And look for a registration link. Actually, as soon as we close this call, this registration link will auto update to the 24th, so you can register now. And have a great weekend. Have a great next couple of weeks, and take care, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks all.
See ya.